Yeah. So yeah, another thing that a lot of people don't realize, because obviously this film was made in 1954, Rear Window 1954. It's a classic movie, and what a lot of people don't realize is some of these films are dying. And restoration is a really, really important thing.
Because
You,
they were shot on celluloid, and celluloid
yeah,
doesn't last
well,
forever.
exactly. And
Yeah.
also, I mean, it was a big thing during sort of the 90s, the early 2000s. You actually got a lot of sort of DVDs and then DVD releases with like restoration, and some of them were good and some of them were bad.
I've got a few
So,
myself. I've got
exactly.
Spartacus and some other ones
Yeah.
restored. Lawrence
Well,
of
again,
Arabia, I
well,
think.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly that in point. I mean, so if you look at how popular the movie is, the most popular the movie, the more degraded it's going to be. Because I mean, particularly those that were
Because
shot
it's been more
on,
shown.
yeah, exactly. But
Shown more times. Yeah.
if you think of sort of like ones that were shot on large format, so I mean the 65 mil, so films like Lawrence of Arabia, 2001, Vertigo, Rear Window, Spartacus, My Fair Lady,
Rear Window is 65 mil.
yeah,
Oh, I didn't realize that. Yeah.
exactly. So they have to then transfer that over to what would be 4 per 35 mil. So it could be then used in projectors all around the country and all around the
The
world.
format, yeah, to fit in the machine, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's why you either got shot on 35 mil or large format. Anything shot on large format, it had to then get gravated over to 35 mil with 4 per 35 mil so that movie houses around the world could actually show it to audiences. So what you've got is even if it wasn't shot on 35 mil, if you large medium format or standard 35 mil, what you had was you had the original, shot, then that had to be copied. So release prints basically had to be created so it could
Thousands
go
of them.
to, yeah, well,
Yeah.
not thousands, because what you had was different movie houses would have their copy, and
Yeah.
then they would make a copy for all of their movie
Right.
houses.
Second
So
generation, third
to
generation.
give you
Yeah.
an idea of numbers, so
Like a
Rear
like a tree,
Window,
like a what do you call it? Like a flow chart or like a
yeah.
tree. Yeah,
So, for
branches
instance,
coming
in the
off. Yeah.
UK, one reel would get sent to Odeon, and then
Yeah.
Odeon would make multiple
Copy it for
copies
all
for
the
all
Odeon
of their
cinemas.
Odeon
Yeah.
cinemas around the country. But of course, you've got a film being released and then worldwide. So, Rear Window had first set of release prints was 389, which is massive, massive.
Hmm.
So, what they did was when it got copied, you had a lacquer put over the negative to protect it. But of course, while that's being copied, it gets scratched, it gets nicked, and every time that happened, it would be stripped and then a re-lacquer put on again. So to try and protect it, and this happens again and again and again and again. And the problem is when the lacquer gets taken off and stripped and then reapplied, the yellow color gets wiped off. So give you an idea, after the 389 prints, by the time Rear Window was set for re-release in 1962,
Only 8 years later, then. Yeah.
yeah, 40% of the coloration had gone. 40%.
And that's the yellow. Well,
That's the
obviously the yellow.
yellow.
Yellow is obviously a component in other colors. It's not
Yeah,
just it's not just primary
it's a
colors, is it? Yeah, it's
secondary
not a
color,
cartoon.
but you
Yeah.
need it,
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
for
yeah. You,
whites.
you take all the yellow out, you'll know the difference. Yeah, of
Exactly.
course. Yeah.
So there is this, and obviously as this more goes on. So by the time it was set up for additional re-release, 1983. Get ready for this. 90% of
God,
color saturation.
bloody hell.
90%. Now, so what you had was amazing restoration. I think who was I listening to? I'm trying to remember.
Was it Sarah?
Um,
Was it
oh yeah,
Sarah Berry?
Robert A. Harris.
Oh yeah, he was the big
Yeah,
restorator. He did a lot of he did
and
Spartacus, I think, as well. Yeah,
they came in
another
the
name.
90s and early 2000, and really went to town on these classics. And yeah, we're not just talking Rear Window, but we are talking, yeah, Lawrence of Arabia, Spartacus, all of these ones, because they realized we're going to lose these movies, we are going to lose
Yeah,
the original print, and it's got to be saved. And Oh God, they work tirelessly. And the problem is you've got to remember at this point you're looking at movies that are 40, 50, 60 years old,
Mm.
and they're looking at up to 90% color saturation. So much has gone, and then they're trying to find out anybody who's got any information on original content. So they're interviewing extras, they're interviewing directors that are still live, producers,
Any like a detective looking for
anything.
leads.
Yeah, background reports, set designers, publishers, assistant directors, anybody who's got anything to say, right, right, this shot here, how red was it? How much green did you
God.
need? How much yellow?
Doing it from memory.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then they're trying to make the decision of when they've got this, negative that needs so much work. Do we focus on coloration?
Mm.
Do we focus on sharpness? We can only do one.
You,
What do we
you,
do? What is the important thing? What would the director have wanted for this shot, this scene,
and
as they're trying to receive?
by
Yeah,
1983 the directors died. So
exactly.
yeah.
So
So it's
if
almost
you,
like you're reconstructing, like a
yeah,
CGI reconstruction of ancient Rome or
yeah,
something. You're
and this is a
reconstructing the
time no
movie
computers,
with the best
exactly.
information you
Yeah,
can get.
no computers available,
Oh, and
no
those, yeah.
software to try and help you. This is all done. And also, you're talking at this time of the late 90s and early 2000s, it was still like a Wild West. There was no standards restoration quality. So you had these sort of background, sort of like cowboys, like saying, "Yeah, we'll restore it. We'll
Yeah.
take
Because
the money off the studios to make this
at
film,"
that
and then we're
point,
making it worse.
and
So,
at that point, the turn of the century, I mean, demand, supply isn't
mm,
what was whatever supply is, but you're talking about supply, but demand was high because DVDs had come out
DVDs,
and
exactly.
people were buying movies in bulk in a way that they hadn't
Yeah.
before. I mean, we had home, rent sell through VHS, but that was the tip of the iceberg when DVDs exploded in
Mm.
like late 90s, early 2000s. It was, I mean, I certainly bought a lot of DVDs around that
Yeah,
time
exactly. We all did.
of
Exactly. I've got loads
various
up there
quality.
myself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I've got a
Yeah.
few. Yeah,
I mean, I've got so many box sets of stuff from around the 2000s where we started, collecting a lot of the stuff. I mean, I've got like, got to mention it before, Good, Bad, the Ugly, a few dollars more.
yeah, Jimmy
That
Cagney
box
box set.
set, yeah, all of it, it's great. But again, in the extras, they're all talking about important of restoration because a lot
Mm.
of the time they would go in, these restorers were going to the film executives, they were going to the film companies going, look, you don't realize how important this is. You are the custodians of these classics, and if we don't do what really needs to be done, we're going to lose these, and generation, our future, our grandchildren are not going to have these amazing classics to look forward to because the original negs are just going to be so far gone.
And I suppose, really, I mean, it's maybe not the only art form where this is the case, but cinema is one of the few art forms where, like a novel, you can photocopy a novel.
Yeah,
You can a work of art, I suppose, has to be preserved because there's only one Mona Lisa. You can
yeah.
make copies of it, but
Hmm.
they're copies.
And there is, I mean, I know this from,
I guess
I'm an art lover anyway. Yeah.
recorded music is maybe the only
Well,
comparable
no,
kind
the
of.
same with tapes. You take of how what was recorded by the Beatles.
Yeah,
They were going
exactly.
through
That's what I'm
exactly the
saying. That
same thing. So
recorded music and recorded sound is probably the only
yeah,
other art form where you have the same problem, where it's like we need to
mm.
preserve as best we can the fidelity of these original recordings.
Yeah. But it's the same with photography and film, and this is why there was this massive push in the 2000s to all go digital because we don't have to worry about restoration.
It
If it's all
preserves everything
digital,
forever.
it's
Yeah,
already there. It's
yeah.
just ones and zeros. We don't need to worry. It's not going to decayed as long as someone doesn't wipe the hard drive. But
Or hard drives, but
drives.
still, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, so there's and now we've got this clawback of filmmakers wanting to go back to film
Oh, the
holdovers.
holdovers.
Yeah, because that looks
Was the
like it was
holdovers
shot
shot?
on
Well,
film.
the holdovers
I'm
was
not
a.
sure. Yeah.
I know it was definitely a throwback to the 1970s and like even
Mm,
like to the point of having the BBFC certificate was
yeah.
like done in a 1970s
Mm,
style. It's kind of
exactly.
recreated.
Yeah.
And I guess they did that in every country. I don't know.
Mm,
I know when I saw the holdovers at the cinema, it was the BBFC card. When I watched it on Netflix, it was the American Motion Picture
ooh.
Association. motion picture
Okay.
association, the MPAA card
Interesting. Yeah.
with rated R or whatever. Yeah, which is
Yeah.
so. I guess they must have, I don't know if they did that for every
Yeah.
country,
Well,
but because every country's got its
yeah.
own film
Well, exactly.
classification board
Yeah.
or whatever, their own
But that was really
version of
nice.
that.
I'm only mentioning it because there's
That's a
this.
good. No, I know what you mean
Yeah.
because it's like the
Um,
film was the film shot on film and everything. I don't know actually if it was
that'd be
shot on. It
interesting to
certainly
know.
kind of
But
looks like it was, but I'm not
is
qualified to.
no,
I don't
no.
know. Maybe it could have. They could
Unfortunately,
have
I
fooled
don't
me.
know
They really
enough
could have
about
fooled
it
me.
these days, which is a bit shameful. But
I'm sure there's a plug-in where you can make it look like celluloid, and
well,
they do
that's
it.
what they are doing. I mean,
Yeah, I'm sure.
filmmakers are realizing now that the quality of digital cameras and the software that's available, you can make it look like film now.
Yeah.
So, but you've really got to do your work to make it look like film.
So you
So,
might as well shoot on film, really.
well, film just gives you that warmth, it gives you that depth. It's just that there's so much more it gives to it. Digital can look really flat and bland, and it's just the way that directors choose to shoot. Because if you've got a scene and if you're shooting on film, you've got to have the coloration right for that scene. If you then need to reshoot that scene, you've got to basically do all the color, all the lighting exactly the way you had it previously. If you shot digitally and then you take a lot of stuff that's being shot on green screen, that's
Color
fine. You can just
grading,
edit it in. You can just
color grading, and all
re
that. Yeah.
you can just reshoot it on an edit
You
on a
can fix it in.
laptop.
You can fix it in the mix.
You can just
Yeah.
fix it in
Yeah.
post.
Yeah.
So that's why there's that draw for digital all the time. But for film, it's almost like a clawback for for vinyl in some ways.
It's a very that is the comparison I always kind of reach for because
Mm.
I'm quite skeptical about the vinyl thing. Like I
I,
mean
I, I understand it. I
you
get
and
it
I
on
are
both
old enough to
scores.
remember when CDs came in because
I know my
CDs
very
digital.
first CD. I still have it.
What is it?
Sam and Dave, best of Sam and Dave.
Oh, nice. So I mean, like when CDs came in, that was the digital revolution,
Mm,
and that was the kind of prevailing wisdom with that was that this sounds better because it's crisper, it's cleaner, it has more
hmm.
fidelity to the original recordings, etc. It has less background noise, ambient hiss,
Yeah.
and and of course no snap, crackle, and pop that you get with vinyl. Going, I kind of prefer CDs to vinyl because I think to me, people talk about vinyl having a warmth and an ambiance or whatever
Mm,
that digital doesn't have it. I've never really heard that. Like for me, when I listen to, we've talked about this before, when I listen to
mm,
like Not Now Music, that record label that I introduced you to at
mm,
the Bristol FOP that time, that to me, when I put on, I don't know, say Miles Davis Milestones, which I think I got from
mm,
that label, when I put that on the CD with a good sound system like we've
mm,
got, to me that sounds like the band is in the room.
mm.
How can you get better than that? If I put a record on, the first thing you hear is like,
Yeah.
and I don't want to hear that. I want to hear the music. I don't want to hear that. I don't want
It's
to hear that. Now, if you have a sort of fondness, like a tactile kind of
mm,
fondness, like almost an amniotic sort of thing, like I love all vinyls. I like vinyls. Like it's my comfort zone
mm,
sonically. I can understand that, but I just don't agree that it sounds better than digital.
yeah. No, no. It's a weird. There is a weird argument about it, and some people will hold their side
And I guess
vehemently,
it comes down to
strongly.
taste, really, doesn't
It
it? I mean,
does.
that's the
It's
thing.
completely down to taste, but
Yeah.
there is this kind of. It's okay. The argument branches out a bit further because serious musos, yeah, you've got the kind of vinyl lovers,
Mhm.
you've got the CD lovers, and now you've got the problem with streaming versus CD. So now, because CD is streaming is such a new thing, but you can't get everything on streaming, there's a desire for CDs again. So CDs are making a comeback.
I think
Um,
the whole vinyl thing to me is
mm,
like, but also the other thing, the other problem I have with vinyl isn't a problem with the format itself. It's the problem with it's the fact that it's kind of been it's been priced out of the market. If I
yeah.
want to buy, if I want to buy, uh, say like if I want to buy, I don't know,
Take that Miles Davis album you mentioned
Yeah, if I
earlier.
want to
I
buy
tried to
Miles,
buy that
no,
on
no.
out
Do
on
you know?
vinyl.
I'll go with a
Mm,
more recent example. I'll go with something like, well, not that much more recent compared to
mm.
now. But if I wanted to buy the Ziggy Stardust album, right?
Yeah.
Because I know this because I saw it in HMV in
Mm,
Wimbledon before it closed. They
right.
had the Ziggy Stardust album re-released on vinyl
Mm,
for basically hipster wankers who are
hmm
prepared to pay 45 fucking pounds
mm,
for a record
yeah.
that came out 40 years earlier or whenever it was at the time.
Hmm
And I just think I could get the CD for like £7
10.
online. Well,
Yeah.
I've got the CD anyway, but
Yeah.
I could buy the CD for a fraction of that price, and it sounds
Yeah.
better.
Exactly.
So I think
And
the CD sounds
that's the
better.
thing. It's the
It's a
industry
pose.
that's
It's
it
bullshit.
is.
It's a
It's middle
pose.
class wanking.
Yes.
That's yeah.
That's what
So
annoys me about it as well as that class
yeah,
thing annoys me about it as well. And the fact, well,
exactly.
not
It
just
is.
class, it's an affordability thing. It's pricing.
Well, it is, and that's what pulls it
Because
into classism.
if I really did love the sound of vinyl, I can't
Yeah.
fucking afford it.
Yeah. Exactly.
I do have records.
It's
I
creating an
do buy records
elitism.
occasionally.
It's
Yeah,
creating an
exactly.
elitism that doesn't really exist.
Well,
So yeah,
not the
or
elitism
they're
exists, but
creating an elitism.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
it's creating a market out of nothing, and people are prepared to pay 50 quid for a record, and they sell it. It's been re-released and it's on like
mm,
heavier vinyl or whatever, and it's all the sound. I bet you the sound quality is not appreciably better.
no.
And maybe it is. I don't
I
know. I'm
mean,
no expert, but
I would say this: the quality of vinyl, where they're remaking stuff and reprinting vinyl,
I'm sure it
is of
sounds
a
great.
higher
Yeah,
standard of
it's
what
as
it
good as
was in
vinyl gets.
the 60s
Yeah,
and the 70s. That isn't debatable. But you're right, vinyl quality, the quality of vinyl versus CD. Well, again, it also comes back to original source recording. You could
yeah,
get a CD taken from a really shitty original bass recording, and a vinyl taken from a better recording. But
and
then
that
you get the CD and the vinyl recorded from the same quality bass recording. The CD is going to be of a higher standard.
so that's where the fidelity really lives, is in the original masters,
Yeah.
really.
Well, we're talking about CD and vinyl. It's the same thing about quality and negative. I've said this before time and time again. If you've got something that's shot on large format,
The original negative. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
as opposed to 35 mil, medium format's always going to look way, way better. And then when it comes to upscaling and upscaling to like 4K or 1080p, large format neg is going to be able to do it
Um,
much more easily.
and it's large form. Sorry, I'm Alan's a photographer.
Sorry,
I'm a civilian.
well, not large format, medium format.
Large format
Medium format is
is that 65 mil,
65,
right? And
70,
what's large?
70 mil. Large would be like 1080, so an A4 sheet of paper,
S-
10 by 8.
Do you mean an A4 sheet of paper going through
Like
the
an A4, a
projector,
negative the size of an A4 sheet of paper is large
which
format.
would obviously have more fidelity
Medium
because it's
format
bigger? Yeah,
is 65 to 75 mil, and then you've got
right.
35 mil.
Gotcha. Okay.
Sorry, my hands were not in the right place for
So
that, but to
what's
give you an
IMAX
idea,
then?
IMAX would be medium format, so
That's
70 mil.
medium.
Yeah, medium.
I thought
You
IMAX was
don't
like as good
large
as it
man.
gets, as big as it gets.
I don't know if I'm talking photography here, not filmmaking. So
Oh, okay.
photography, large format is like bellows camera, one sheet, a single sheet negative,
Right.
size of an A4 sheet of paper, and you shoot on that.
Okay.
It's one shot. You get another plate, turn the plate around, take another shot.
See, but
But the
see,
quality of negative is phenomenal. And that's what they'll be using 100 years. So if you go to the National Gallery and you look at the archive of the photographs taken of the paintings, you have some negatives that are on glass format that were shot back in the early 1900s, 1920s,
mhm.
1930s, all glass plate negatives. And the quality of those negatives, even though they're over 100 years old, is beautiful. And I've printed off of those negs. I've done stuff for REBA, the Royal Institute of British Architects, taken old negatives that were over 100 years old and given up to date prints. That's what I was doing, sort of like, 25, 30 years ago.
You see, our channel is educational too.
So, yeah. So the
Is
quality
that
of your source goes a long, long way. But I think the argument for music is equal to the argument of film.
It's
and the
yeah, it's
argument
a
for
similar. Yeah,
photography. I
yeah,
think they're so closely related, even though
yeah.
they
They are.
are very different mediums,
Yeah, no,
but
definitely.
they're so closely connected, even though they're so different. And yeah.